Welcome back to Mile High Hoops. I've got another video for you coming out today, and I think this is something that everyone's thinking about at this point in time, and it's that the Rudy Gobert trade is quite literally the worst trade in NBA history, and I think a lot of people probably thought this, or definitely thought this when it happened, and I myself also thought it was terrible, and I think if you look back at like my preview for the Timberwolves, that I thought that they were going to be the Utah Jazz from years before. So if you like this type of content and you want to see more, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll get right into it. So I think the first thing to really talk about is everything that they gave up. So the Jazz got Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, who's the 22nd pick in that draft, Jared Vanderbilt, and the 2023 first round pick, 25, 26 pick swap, 27, and 29 first round pick. So they got an absolute haul for Rudy Gobert. And if we just kind of look at some of those guys, like Patrick Beverly was probably their best perimeter defender the Timberwolves had. Jared Vanderbilt was like their best defender in general because he was so switchable. He could guard fours, some fives. He could guard probably up to the one spot if he wanted to. Like if he wanted to switch in a pick and roll, he could definitely do that and be just fine. As far as some of the other guys, like Malik Beasley, I think Malik Beasley has shown as like on the Jazz as a comparable defender, has been just fine. He was a good shooter. Was another good guard that could score. Lost a lot there as well. And then the other thing that, of course, nobody would have been able to tell, but this Walker Kessler guy for the Jazz has been insanely good. And he's averaging like 1.9 blocks a game, which is more than Rudy Gobert right now, and has been just insanely good. Like he attacks the rim in pick and rolls and just has like insanely good hands where he just catches it and finishes it. And this topic to me like stems so much around like what value does Rudy Gobert bring compared to some of these cheaper centers? And I think this topic also comes back to like a few years ago when everyone was talking about like, is it worth it to pay centers this much? And I think for centers in the category of Rudy Gobert, hell no. So let's take a look at some of these other centers right here. So I've got list of all the centers that are playing this season. There's 50 of them, and I just kind of want to go down the list and see who you would rather have. I think it's a very easy and like important thing to talk about because you got to take into account like how much they're being paid, how well they're playing, what they do for the team, and like if they're causing more of like a positive or a negative. And like Joel Embiid, obviously you'd rather have him. Bam, absolutely. He's better on offense, just as good on defense, probably not as good, maybe right at the rim. Evan Mobley, absolutely you'd rather have Evan Mobley than Rudy Gobert. He can switch on defense a lot better. He's got a higher ceiling, yada, yada, yada. That doesn't really, it's not really apples to apples because he's a younger player. Anthony Davis, of course. Lauri Markkanen, absolutely. I mean, he's definitely not the defender that Rudy is, but he's more athletic, so he can defend on the perimeter a little bit better. He's way better at scoring. Yes, absolutely. Karl Towns, I mean, he's on the team, but he can't defend. He is the whole reason that they went out and got Rudy Gobert, so he himself is an issue as well. I don't know why they have Julius Randle here. Don't worry about that. Sabonis, definitely not an amazing defender, but he definitely scores, assists, and can shoot pretty well. You'd much rather have him on your team. And his contract is definitely cheaper. Jared Allen, he's paid way less, does all of the exact same things that Rudy Gobert does, except for being like this stalwart at the rim defender, but he's just a much better scorer. He has much better hands. And I mean, Rudy Gobert has been known to be this guy that people just don't even pass to because he is so bad around the rim. So yes, you'd rather have Jared Allen, or at least I would. Wendell Carter, he's been scoring more. He shoots the three pretty decently. He rebounds, he assists, he turns it over quite a bit. but I don't know if they'll show his contract on here. They won't. I don't remember what he's being paid. It's definitely not anywhere near as much as Rudy Gobert. So that one's iffy. But again, would you rather trade for someone like that that's easier to get, or Rudy Gobert? Much rather have cheaper contract guy that can do most of the similar things. Jokic, don't even need to talk about that. Absolutely. Porzingis, he has health problems a lot of the time. He's played pretty much every game this season, and he shoots the ball really well. He scores. He blocks shots. Again, cheaper contract. Much rather have him. Vucevic. Now this is where it's interesting because Vucevic is the exact same player as Rudy Gobert, but just flip-flopped. He can't defend, but he can score. That one's up in the air. He's on a cheaper deal. And at least he brings you something on the offensive end. And so if he can even be slightly okay on defense, you'd still maybe rather have him. I don't know. The Bulls certainly didn't give up as much to get him. So another interesting topic. Al Horford. Al Horford is so old that he probably saw the pyramids built, and he is still insanely better than Rudy Gobert. He plays really good defense. He plays pick and roll coverage way better, even though he is so old that his knees are probably made out of titanium at this point. But he stretches the floor. He rebounds. He assists. I'd rather have Al Horford. He is cheaper as well. John Collins, I don't think he really fits in this category. And look at Rudy Gobert all the way down here at 16th in minutes at the center position. Interesting. Other than John Collins, not really center. Julius Randle as well. Lowry, kind of. Okay, and then this whole video I thought of while watching the Warriors-Milwaukee game. Brook Lopez. He is the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. He's making, I think, like $16 million a year. He shoots the ball insanely well. He rebounds. People come into the paint and they are terrified of him. But he does everything that Rudy Gobert does on defense. And right now, better than Rudy Gobert. And he gives you everything on offense that you could possibly want out of your center. He is paid half as much as Rudy Gobert and gives you twice as much. So of course, Minnesota wouldn't have been able to trade for him, but doesn't that make you certainly think why did they give up so much for this guy that does so much less than some of these other players? And when you think about Rudy Gobert and his value, doesn't it just make a lot of sense that Rudy Gobert is so overrated at this point that even looking back at this trade 6 months later or whatever it was, that was a disgusting amount of stuff to give up for him, and someone in Minnesota probably needs to be fired. And then Zubats is being paid, I think 10 or 11 million a year. He rebounds, he rolls to the rim and catches it and scores. He had that crazy 30-20 game or something. He blocks shots. He does everything that you need your center to do. He's much cheaper. Much rather have him too, probably, because then you have salary space for other people. Miles Turner. Miles Turner has been on the trade block for so long. Don't you think that with some of these picks and everything that Minnesota could have got Miles Turner instead of Rudy Gobert? And Miles Turner blocks shots at the rim. He shoots the ball pretty well. He doesn't rebound crazy well, but he does all the things you need your center to do. Why did they not trade for him? Couldn't even begin to think about that. It's so mind-boggling at this point. Nurkic scores pretty well. He scores in the post really well, way better than Rudy does, because Rudy doesn't do it because he can't. Shoots the three decently enough to be successful. Rebounds, assists. I think this is turnovers here. Yep, he turns it over a little bit, whatever. Him on defense is meh. It's okay, but again, he's much cheaper. Much rather have him. DeAndre Ayton. We all know Ayton is really solid. He's solid on offense, pretty solid on defense. I'd rather have him. He's cheaper. Kelly Olynyk is even up here in the minutes. And this is another interesting one because Kelly Olynyk is dirt cheap. He's dirt cheap. And he spaces he passes really well. He's aggressive. He goes to the rim. He rebounds quite a bit. And again, would you rather have 35 million extra dollars of salary to play with and have Kelly Olynyk, or would you rather have Rudy Gobert and have all of your trading assets and all that gone? It's tough because again, I'd rather have Kelly Olynyk. I might be sounding crazy here, but like all of these guys so far, I would much rather have on my roster because Rudy Gobert doesn't do anything other than stand in the he plays buckethead and guards the rim. That's it. That's entirely it. There's no other value for him. He sets screens, but when you're such a non-threat on offense, everyone can just collapse on the ball handler. I'm not even gonna look through the rest of these, but if we go to some more advanced stats, so this is defensive rating. I've got it sorted here for all the teams. Timberwolves are all the way down at 15th. Again, they're not a whole lot better than last year. Last year, I believe they were actually up higher, and they had more dynamic defenders. Wouldn't you think that if they had all of their, like if this trade was undone, and maybe they traded for, let's say, Miles Turner, don't you think, like if they didn't get rid of a whole lot, like let's say they still got rid of like 3 picks and maybe Jared Vanderbilt or something, don't you think they'd still be higher up on this list than that? I think so. It's pretty tough. And then I wanted to sort by 3-point percentage here because if maybe they've got Rudy Gobert, maybe you need to be a really good 3-point shooting team to have him be valuable. And they're down at 25th. Not great. Yeah, and then also like rebounding, they are 23rd. Not great. Blocks. Oh, they're at 9th. 9th is 5.4, and they're all slightly contested with all these other guys. Again, not a lot there. Defense stats sorted. Defense rating, we already looked at that. Defensive rebounds, they are 13th. You think with the Stifle Tower in your paint, and he's supposed to be the best like defensive big man in the league, you'd be getting a lot of rebounds. He's 7'1" or whatever with a 8 whatever wingspan. Mind-boggling, certainly. This is more interesting stuff to me. Points off turnovers. They're at 28th. They give up 20 points off turnovers every game, and I would highly suggest that it is due to turning it over and having this big old loaf that can't get back on defense after turning the ball over. He definitely plays a big role in that. Second chance points. You would think with the Stifle Tower, like I said, getting rebounds, blocking the paint, that they would be really good at keeping this number low, but they are 26th. Pretty bad. Fast break points. This lines up directly with what I was just talking about. They are at 22nd. They give up the 8th most points on fast break. They don't get back on defense. Defense is more than standing in the paint and blocking shots and making people not shoot a layup. Opponents' points in paint. Hey, look. They're at 5th. Sweet. They still give up 47 points in the paint. The worst team, it's maybe, 10 more. And look, it's funny. It's the Jazz. But if we go back to advanced stats, defensive rating, the Jazz are at 113.7 and the Timberwolves are at 112. So they're giving up 1 less point per game, basically. But they're giving up 10 more points in the paint, or 9. There's a lot more to defense at this point than just guarding the rim. If you can't guard in transition, your defense is going to suck. If you can't get back off of turnovers, your defense is going to suck. If you can't guard the 3-point line or pick and rolls, your defense is going to suck. And it is just so incredible to me that they gave up this much for Rudy Gobert. Again, like the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade, was terrible. But look at how the Nets have responded. At this point, for the Timberwolves, they're pretty screwed. It's pretty tough to say. Like, we can look at standings. The Timberwolves are at 11th. I don't think it's going to get a lot better for them. D'Lo can't guard. Anthony Edwards is getting a little bit better. Kyle Anderson is too slow at the 4 spot for them to really get a whole lot of defense out of him. And their depth is just ruined. Their depth is completely ruined. At this point, what do you do if you're the Timberwolves? Do you trade D'Lo? Maybe. Do you try to trade Gobert? I don't think anyone's going to take him. Do you trade Cat? You might have to. It's so insanely hard to even comprehend how this deal happened and to even comprehend how they can dig themselves out of this, because unless they do something, like if they want to be good, which they're the Timberwolves, so they're stupid and they're probably going to do something dumb like they already did, they might trade Anthony Edwards to try to get more like shooting or something. I don't even know at this point. I would say after all of these mistakes, they might have to tear it down or just continue to roll with it and hope that it works. I'm working my way back. I would say they have to just roll with it. They have to just roll with it, see if they can make this work. I am going to say it's not going to work at all, and it's going to continue to suck unless they can find guys at the end of the draft in second round, or if they can flip some of these other guys for slightly better fit guys. Maybe they can make something work, but holy cow, my brain hurts. This is just, it's so terrible. If you've got anything to say or add in to why Rudy Gobert sucks and why this trade is the worst thing ever, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.